My dear viewers, if you've ever come across a little ding like this on your car in a parking lot or outside a supermarket, or worse yet, a dent like this, what should you do then? The best thing is to pull it out, remove it without repainting. But how is it done? That's what today's episode on the Roboty channel is about.
Still a lot of strength.
It was obvious right away. 300 zlotys for 10 minutes of work. Welcome, it's great to have you here.
Good to see you too.
A small dent, but it's annoying. Look at this.
You probably couldn't have hit it any better.
So on one hand today we'll straighten that out and talk about your work. What exactly do you do?
We remove dents without the need for repainting.
So many methods, many dents, and you handle them all.
Of course, but strictly dent removal only. We don't deal with paint restoration or anything related to that, only dents. So we can just as well prepare such a part for painting, meaning we straighten it back to its original shape, and then the painter doesn't have to fill any imperfections with body filler. He just paints over the original surface.
Many workstations, lots happening and noise, but there's always work, right?
Well, we can't complain about a lack of work.
We get straight into action.
We get straight into action. There's no point in waiting. The dent is on the edge, on the crease, but I think there shouldn't be a problem accessing that spot. We have tools that we can insert here into the gap between the door and the window, and by putting the tools inside, we can slowly massage and push the dent back to its original shape.
There are really a lot of tools on your wall, and we'll talk about that today too, because it's really interesting how many different things you can use and what they're for when it comes to pulling out dents. But first, like, to get things going, we'll just pull out the dent on this car, show how to straighten it, and then we'll move on to other cars.
Of course, I'll quickly grab the cover that I definitely need to put on so I don't damage the valuable window.
Oh, since you'll put it between the window too?
Yes. The point is that I have to put a cover here between the window and the door. And then by inserting this pump, I'm able to create a gap here. And now I can insert my tool here. The most important tool in our work is this kind of light. Without it, we have no idea what's really happening on those doors. We are able to read from these lines exactly how deep the dent is, what area it covers, whether there are any crowns or any stresses on this panel, which we then have to gently massage back to its original shape. And look, you could imagine it like this. Look, if I put this here, I'll touch it there. During this kind of repair, when we're working on an edge, like in your case, it's good to keep the surface temperature a bit higher, because by raising the temperature, our paint becomes a bit more flexible and it's less prone to possible damage.
I have to say, dear viewers, it's looking better and better. I expected it would take longer because it's on the edge, and that's definitely one of the more difficult parts compared to others, definitely.
Definitely.
On the flat.
Of course, in such a situation during a repair like this, we also get to the point where I might push something out too far. So if I push something out too far, then logically I have to tap it back in. So in this case, if I pushed one section a little too high,
on one hand, it's almost a metal device, and on the other hand, it's so delicate that it doesn't cause any chips or anything on the paint. Is this a new industry, or has it existed for years? Is this the usual process?
When it comes to the industry here in Poland, you could say that it started in the 2000s.
So in the past, let's say there was a panel beater who, if something couldn't be replaced, or if it could be, let's say, filled in, then it was filler and paint.
And that's it, right?
Because that's how I remember it.
And now we've got this alternative where we can save a part that's even quite badly damaged by keeping the original paint finish. And honestly, we get a lot of extra benefits from this repair, because a panel that hasn't been repainted means no loss of vehicle value. You could say we're already at the final stage. Here, during this damage, the paint was also scratched a bit, probably by the door that hit it earlier.
And what are you polishing right now?
Now I'm just using very fine sandpaper to remove the scratch.
So you're trying, which is also nice, to focus on a narrow area of activity, meaning just pulling out these dents without any extra steps, like I said, without painting, without polishing, and so on. You simply do what you know best.
Well, I think that in the long run it brings benefits, because as you can see yourself, there are really a lot of tools that we have here in this workshop. If we wanted to add some other specializations to that, like polishing, applying film, or spot paint repairs, then we would be completely cluttered here. It's better to be very good at one narrow field and then, if needed, refer any further improvements or stages to specialists in that area, right?
Cars keep coming and going, so there's clearly a lot happening here.
We're not bored.
And that's it, timed with a stopwatch. 16 minutes.
Good time. If we didn't have to take breaks for commentary and it was us,
You would have done it in 7.
no, maybe in 10, maybe in 10 minutes. For a technician with over a dozen years of experience, repairing a dent like that is not too much of a challenge. Here we had one dent. There, for example, we have 1,000, 1,500 dents.
Okay, definitely more, likely costing more too, and we'll discuss that soon as we go through each element today. We did it. What is the price? What is the cost for the client? Meaning for me, let's say for a repair like this.
You know, the cost here, it's definitely worth mentioning that the cost changes depending on the place where it's performed. You need to pay about 300 zlotys for this kind of repair.
300 zlotys? Yes. For 10 minutes of work? Yes. All right. Times 6, so you know what the hourly rate is.
That's right. You can't calculate it that way since it's not piecework, but the replacement time stays the same.
Here, probably from the second day already, or on the second day something gets fixed. Maybe it'll go into the third day, so it's not always so rosy, but you can see that it can be done and it's possible. The job here is done, so we're taking the car out to show you more things happening.
You can also repair classics like this, because here we have a situation where customers ask if, for example, cars that are already old can be repaired. Yes, of course, they can be repaired and you can simply restore their original shine. Okay, this is a Porsche.
So what do we have here? Aha, all these parts that are marked with this line, these ones.
The ones that are now also marked with these pink dots, these are the parts that still need to be done. Imagine that this car was completely pink like that.
That's hail damage. How many spots are there? Are you counting them?
Yes, we're counting them. Here there were about 500 spots all around, so now we only have the most challenging parts left to repair. The fenders, the doors, the hood has already been fixed, but all right.
We counted about 300 zlotys per spot for 10 or 20 minutes of work, and here are 500 of them. Does that also get multiplied by?
No, here we have a completely different system for calculating hail damage repairs. Here we have price lists that are generally accepted in Poland. The first 100 spots cost 5,000 zlotys. Each additional spot is 20 zlotys.
So for this car, let's say you need to spend about 12,000 to fix those 500 spots for the customer. Oh my God, how long can that take?
I don't know, about 3 days.
3 days, 12,000 zlotys?
Well, we are able to do something, absolutely. But most often it's a bit of teamwork here, right? Because someone has to dismantle the interior trim panels, so it gets spread out a bit, right? But more or less, you can say that we are really able to get it done in that time.
First of all, the knowledge, which costs money, and secondly, the sheer amount of tools. What are the costs in general to open, maybe not such a fancy shop, but let's say just to get started in this business?
To get started in this business, I think that just for the very beginning, to buy the basic tools, the absolute minimum is about 10,000 zlotys. And then we end up with things like these carts here, for example, where the cost of such a cart is 100,000 zlotys, right? Okay. With a cart like this, we're able to repair practically 90% of the damage we have on a car.
So a cart like this costs 100,000 zlotys, but there are also all these tools on the wall, behind us, here. There's really a huge amount of them. So that also explains this and the 12,000 zlotys for 3 days, which isn't pure profit in your pocket, but you have to invest quite a lot in both equipment and knowledge.
Well, the equipment is really, really expensive, and as for knowledge, you could say that at the beginning, the know-how is even harder to acquire.
How to start this job, we'll get to that too, but here, the car we saw earlier at the very beginning, there was quite a big dent here, and I see it's already been repaired pretty well.
In this case, when at the initial stage we have a very large dent, it wouldn't make sense to work with such precise tools that are used to repair your car. Here, in this case, we need to restore as much of the surface as possible to its original shape in the shortest possible time. Unfortunately, we can't repair the door Markin worked on at the beginning while they're on the car. Therefore, we have to remove a door like that and place it on stands.
Oh, and dear viewers, I forgot, make sure to leave a thumbs up under this episode and subscribe to the Do Roboty channel. I'm also counting on your comments under this video. I read everyone and reply to most of them.
I wanted to show you that we are also able to remove dents from motorcycle tanks like this one. Once motorcycle owners found out that it's possible to save such a part in its original form, we've really had a boom when it comes to the number of orders. Across Poland, tanks are being sent to us by couriers in packages. This is a slide hammer. Actually, this hammer is our own production, but how does it work? It's simply this weight that we have here. It causes the metal sheet to straighten. Did you notice right away how much that dent has already shrunk? It's working, it's working. It really speeds up the work.
So now I'll become a PDR technician, meaning I'll be training. Martian will show me some techniques that I'll learn what we'll be doing.
The most important thing is that we have to be able to read the dent that's on the part. On a flat surface like you see here, the lines run parallel, everything looks nice and smooth, right? And now at the moment of damage...
Are you going to damage it for me? Well...
Let's say it's hailing and a hailstone is coming down.
Okay, there it goes.
What's the biggest problem in learning how to pull out? Hitting that spot. We're pushing from the inside, right? If there's a dent, we have to push from underneath. Imagine you have a window, you put the tool underneath and you can see exactly where you are, right? And now we have a hood like this, you put the tool underneath and the lines end. Aim, where to hit, where am I, where should I press? And that's the biggest difficulty for all beginners. Here, I set up a hook for you so you have a support point. Exactly. This is how you work, and now by pressing gently, like I said at the beginning, by touching, pressing gently, you see by reading the line where you are. Look, do it slowly, press down, and hold it. Oh, see, you're exactly in this spot.
And I can see here.
You're exactly in this spot. And now do it again somewhere next to it. There you go, you're exactly in this spot.
I see how I'm straightening it out.
What I started to say is, besides hitting the spot, you also need to do it with the right amount of force.
I just made 16 other lines now.
No, you just did. If you look...
These kinds of high spots.
Yeah, exactly. Those are high spots, but that's no problem. Because if we make high spots like that, then we have the next tool, a knockdown and a slapper, okay? And now there's another difficulty, because now in this place where these lines meet, that's our bump that you pushed out. Too hard, you used a little too much force. And now the problem is to hit it perfectly and tap it gently.
An amazing industry, I have to tell you, dear viewers, where precision is absolutely crucial.
Damn, you used too much force and now there's a dent again. You position the knockdown exactly where you think the line is, which is right here, see? And now you don't press it down, you just gently place it. And you give it one gentle tap, that's enough. Then you set it aside and observe if anything has changed, and that's what it's all about. Gently meaning you place it a second time and again. Now you've hit it too hard. And again, pick up the lance. Does it ever end? But you see for yourself, you're already using less force on your own, so you don't make a bump, right?
You just have to reposition it 30 times.
And again you have to tap the bump exactly. And now see what happens when I move the lamp.
Damn.
Perfect, and you look at it from this side.
Oh my god, yeah.
I mean, your dent has become elongated now.
We're at the next stage of repairing this door, which Maciej started working on at the beginning. At this point, with the door on the stand, we have much easier positions to work in.
We've already spent hours working on this door. We removed them from the hinges, so I noticed the estimate for this work is much higher. What was the repair estimate?
In this case, such a repair is around 1,000 zlotys.
What does it look like each month?
If we have hail season, which starts in May and ends around October or November, I think that repairing 200 cars per month is definitely realistic. But you know, we also count your car. The repair took 15 minutes. That's also one car, right?
A Porsche that takes 3 days, is that also one car?
That's also one car, so it gets spread out later. Sometimes one car stays at a station for 5 days, and sometimes one station repairs 7 cars in a single day.
In some places, sometimes it's not possible to access it that way with a lance, from underneath. So we're left with the glue pulling method. We use these little tabs for that.
And each tab is also, yes.
They have different shapes, different sizes, thicknesses, and hardness. We have the dent we made.
So we'll make this new one now?
Exactly, this new one here, nice. The biggest difficulty is to place the glue tab perfectly.
I'm gluing it on.
Exactly, you pour a small drop on it, hold it straight so it doesn't drip onto your fingers. That's more than enough. I'll take the gun from you and you glue it exactly on the spot. And now there are two methods, either this kind of puller or this kind of slide hammer that Arthur showed. With this kind of puller, you see it has a tip here that grabs the glue tab like this. The puller works in such a way that you pull it here, this part is movable.
All right, but before I had one pull and either it worked or not. And here, how will I know?
And here, exactly by constantly looking at the reflection of our lines, pull it and you'll see that those lines will start to relax.
Oh, no. And you have to pull it up hard?
Or what? And now the whole problem for the technician is to choose the right amount of force, whether it's enough or if it needs more.
I did better with this than with the little hammer, which left me with 30 little points.
That's right. That's exactly what gives you control over the force. You hit the spot perfectly with the tab and control the strength so you didn't pull it too gently or too hard. And right away there's some effect, right? That spot is still there, of course, but it's already much smaller. I hope it'll go away.
I think it's great. Wait, it's still here.
Just a moment. Thank you. Now is the moment when it will turn out perfectly.
Because first I have to peel it off.
Wipe it and let's see what you got.
Up!
But it's beautiful, a perfect, even little mound. And now the most important thing, gentle, very gentle taps. You could see right away there was still a lot of strength.
Listen, dear viewers, because if you want to get into this business, for now, all those numbers we've been talking about, 300 zlotys for 10 minutes, 12,000 for 3 days, sound great. But when we hear that you have to learn the trade for half a year or a year and gain that experience, then those numbers become secondary, because at the beginning you have to learn all of this. But it's the same as with a doctor, the same as with a surgeon or a specialist. A surgeon from another field who is really good gets paid a lot, but that's exactly because you're paying for the knowledge he had to acquire. Next device. You know, I'm asking about these devices because maybe soon we'll come across a device where I really won't need to have too much knowledge. Just, let's say, money in my pocket, I'll spend more and I'll be able to do it easily. Because we've already gone through 2 stages. The first one was the worst because, as you can see, I did the worst on that one. With the glue, it went much better. So what's next?
Now it's going to be the simplest thing, or at least that's how it looks. There's a device called a hot box which works on the principle of induction. For simple dents, it actually does all the work for us. And now again,
Good to hear.
we'll handle it. Do you want to do one dent yourself?
Third hail dent.
That's right, third one, fuck. While this device is operating, it generates a very, very high temperature. That's why you can't use it continuously in one spot. The time is set to half a second. After you place it, there's a button here, you press it and it works for half a second. That's the best way to do it. And you press this button to see what's happening there. And then you kill it. Whoa.
Oh. Whoa. We got it. I'll pull this out here too. How much does such a device cost?
You know what? Right now you can probably buy these devices for about 2,000 zlotys.
We came to the third stage kind of to work the dent out. I like this the most. From walking, sitting, kneeling and pulling through gluing all the way to induction.
Exactly, through induction.
Now I'm an expert.
You could say you're a technician.
Yes, a technician. An hour and a half of training. He fixed everything, I admit. Here you go. 300 zlotys.
We'll pay in a moment. We'll go to the cashier.
Thanks. Thanks. I'm almost done straightening out this tank.
You could say I'm at the very finish line. I just have a few small spots left to lift. Overall, the whole shape of the tank has already been restored. Even if you run your hand over it, I think it's practically impossible to feel any unevenness.
And what about the workers here? Does everyone know in advance what they're going to do, or does everyone have different knowledge and adapt to the job?
Well, yes, we have guys on our team here who aren't at the same level of experience. So every morning when we check in all the clients, we have a briefing, and then we just divide up all the work that needs to be done throughout the day. And we more or less match the level of difficulty to the technician's skills.
Do you only operate on site, or do you also have, I don't know, door-to-door services? Do you go somewhere and work in the field?
That's actually an interesting topic because in general, our industry relies heavily on mobile repairs. However, from the very beginning of our business, Marcin and I decided that we would only do in-shop repairs. If we have the car here, we've prepared workstations to perform the service much faster.
There's another tool on our table. What should we do now?
Sometimes it happens that a customer comes in with a spot that turns out to have stretched metal. That means the impact was strong enough that, as we know, metal stretches under heat or impact. Obviously, there's more of it then and it won't go back. There's no chance it will return to its original shape. We have a solution for that. We need to shrink the metal. This method is a bit more invasive than what we've shown so far. It uses a regular electrode through which current flows. Normally, sparks appear and you can get burned. To even get to it, we have to damage the paint coating from underneath. You only touch here, but you keep looking here the whole time.
Okay, definitely a difference.
And now, while touching that spot, look here at the line and see what happens. And see that the dent is slowly lifting.
No.
That's awesome too.
But still, you need to have that paint sanded down, right?
Yes. Unfortunately, there just has to be current flow from underneath. By applying power, you can, instead of just touching it, for example, gently move along it. And then you can also see how beautifully these lines change and arrange themselves.
And let's say you're already working for someone in a shop, any shop in a position like this, using the PDR technique to pull out dents like these. What are the rates?
The rates vary depending on the technician's skills. They increase just like a career path in different companies. Let's say for a technician who's just finished the course and still has a lot to learn, that's the lowest rate, the minimum wage. Then there are technicians who've been working for a few years or even over a dozen years, and they can earn up to 89,000.
That sounds good, but as we said, you need to complete the training and learn, since a certificate alone won't get you far here. Or a certificate like the many I saw at your place, but those can be made by anyone. You can just print one. What matters most is actually knowing how to do the job. So let's say you can earn about 10,000 zlotys net in this industry if you work for someone else, but you have to know a lot and put a lot of work into it.
Here we've put together a set of about 50 tools, which is essential to start your adventure with dent removal. The cost of such a set is 10,000 net. With each such set, a potential technician who wants to learn this craft will get access to our platform, where there will be videos explaining step by step how to use each of these tools. So that's a little bonus from us.
Next patient, what do we have dented here?
Here there's a dent on the pillar, so it's a glue repair because pillars are built-in elements. There's no access from underneath. You can't reach it with any rod.
We need to choose the tools.
You see, there are a lot of tools laid out here. They're all sticks, pokers, or whatever else you might call them, common names, but basically they're divided into groups. And now, for example, at the beginning we had that set, the red one. Those are, for example, tools we use to repair doors through the window. Just like Otto repaired your car, that dent on the edge with exactly those kinds of tools. Those are, for example, hand tools. Tools that you operate with one hand, for example, are often used in hard-to-reach places like under reinforcements. You saw the hood. We have a part where access is easy and some parts are covered. Rods are typically used for hail repairs, roof repairs, or damage to fenders. These are hooks for doors. Your door was actually repaired through the window and from a spot where you could easily access it from the window. But sometimes a dent happens, for example, around the handle. For example, in this spot. And in most cars on this side here, there are some access holes that you can use to get in. Now, to get in through here and to keep the door from swinging, there's a very simple device that locks the door for us. And now we can work steadily. There are tools for the pillar, and here we'll be using slide hammers. You'll start the repair with cold glue. I've already set out a few hammers here.
Slide hammers.
To use cold glue effectively to pull out this dent, we first need to degrease the area. Here we use our remover. It's alcohol based, so it degreases the area. I suggest starting with the largest hammer because the dent is quite big. You stick it on, slide it down, and now you hit.
Yes.
One more time. And one more time. And down is when you break it loose. See how the dent lifted? It turned out well. Some crowns, little hills have formed. This is the moment when we take the slapper and the knockdown tool and we tap down those hills that have appeared. Alright, I've tapped it down. Now let's switch, for example, to a smaller hammer. Here you go. But now I'd like you to watch from this side where you're sticking and working. Slowly, gently, you see that it's lifting up. That's why it feels like you're doing the same thing over and over, but nothing changes here, right? Another hammer. Oh Lord.
All right.
It already looks completely different than it did at the beginning.
I'd already be satisfied with work like that myself.
We fully complete them before delivering the car to the customer.
How about women in this industry? In my opinion, women like to work more delicately. They like to be more precise. They can focus on something for longer.
You know what? In this case, I'll tell you this. Of course, there are women who work in this field who remove dents. It's just that, unfortunately, I haven't had the chance to meet any woman who does this at a really high level, where she's able to repair really large dents. I think there's a very simple issue that comes up, namely just the strength that a man has compared to a woman. Very often in our repairs, we simply need a lot of strength in our hands.
Yeah? Well, I would actually totally counter that and say that this is really precise work, not about strength, of course.
Yes, but what you said is only a fraction of the damages that are out there to be repaired.
If you know any women in this industry, please write in. Also, let us know if you work in this field and if this episode matched your experience. We'd be happy to read those comments and respond to them. If you found this episode interesting, leave a thumbs up below. The earnings are also quite interesting. You can earn, let's say, 10,000 zlotys take home, whether as an employee or an owner. It depends on the number of cars processed and the workstations we have here.
Of course, you just have to remember that getting to this point often takes many years. It's a very long road to reach this level.
But of course, it's profitable. That's the point. That's what matters. Obviously, it's not like today or tomorrow we'll be making 10 grand a month. We have to grow and develop.
But it takes years, yes. We have to think in years, not months. There's nothing to discuss if we're considering months.
But of course, there are prospects, and there will be hailstorms, and there have been dents in parking lots as well. So if you feel like it and you see yourself in this industry after this whole episode, then you can definitely be encouraged to develop this passion and in the long run earn a lot of money.
Of course, if you're interested in this topic, we also invite you to our channel where we talk in general about our work. On our channel, we already have dozens, even hundreds of videos that explain step by step how to remove such dents. I encourage you to check it out and invite you to join us.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it, and I sincerely thank you for inviting me into your world of PDR technicians. And to you, dear viewers, thank you for watching this material. See you next time.
See you. Bye.
This is Wojtek Kaczmarczyk. I'm very glad you made it to the very end. Thank you for watching this video, and I encourage you to check out more videos on the Do Roboty channel. Click on the next video and see what interesting things I've made.